Today is the girl's birthday. Grandpa prepared a gift for her. She lifted the curtain, revealing a saddle. Grandpa, who never allowed his granddaughter to ride a horse, finally fulfilled her dream of riding. As he watched his granddaughter ride away, Grandpa called out her name, but there was no response even after waiting for a long time. The black stallion, unable to wait, broke free from its reins. When Grandpa chased after Topthorn to the top of the hill, he discovered that his granddaughter had been surrounded by soldiers. He begged the officer to leave the smaller horse Joey for his granddaughter, but the officer coldly said that war takes everything away. Joey and Topthorn returned to the army, but this army took the horses just to pull heavy artillery. One of the horses collapsed under the weight and was shot by the officer without hesitation. Then Topthorn was called upon, but the soldier responsible for the horses knew that the horse had an injured ankle and would be collapsed if it pulled the heavy artillery. Joey broke free from the soldier and ran ahead to replace Topthorn and pull the artillery. It looked back as if to comfort Topthorn. The artillery was finally pulled to the top of the hill and the soldiers began to load and fire. Albert, who had enlisted in the army, was nearby. This was the closest they had come in a long time. In 1918, the war became increasingly intense, with shells constantly falling into the trenches. Albert placed his valuable belongings into a barrel. They were about to go to the front line. However, he turned back and took Joey's picture. Albert's friend Andrew was pulled down by the officer, who gave him a task that whoever deserted during the charge would be considered an enemy and had to be shot by him. With a whistle blowing, the soldiers charged forward despite the gunfire. Albert followed the landlord's son closely. But during the transfer, he was shot and fell to the ground. Albert hurriedly brought him to a ditch. Albert continued to charge forward, preparing to break through the enemy's machine gun fire. Meanwhile, Andrew remained still in the trench. Just then, a timid soldier returned to the trench and Andrew immediately aimed his gun to shoot, but eventually hesitated and didn't fire. Since he couldn't shoot his comrades, he might as well go out and charge into the battlefield. Andrew followed Albert. Albert had already arrived near the machine gun. He trembled as he pulled the pin of the grenade and threw it into the enemy's bunker. But when he entered the enemy's trench, he discovered that these soldiers had died in the trench while wearing masks. Andrew made a fatal mistake and directly approached without calling out to Albert, almost being accidentally shot. When everyone let their guards down, something unexpected happened.
Gas, gas, gas!
Topthorn's injured leg made it almost impossible for him to move forward. The soldiers who loved the horses pulled him to the side, and Topthorn lay on the ground with closed eyes. The advancing troops suddenly turned back. It turned out that enemy tanks were coming. The tanks trapped Joey in a pit enclosed by barbed wire fences. As the tank went downhill, Joey jumped onto it with a single leap and passed by. It ran frantically through the battlefield with a shell falling beside it. Startled, Joey fell into a trench. It ran in the trench, found a way out, and returned to the battlefield. However, it accidentally got entangled in the barbed wire. Joey was trapped and unable to move. The next morning, soldiers from the opposite side found Joey. One of them called Joey over. In this dull and cruel war, a trapped horse had become the amusement of these soldiers. One soldier raised a white flag, ready to approach Joey and set him free. However, he rushed too quickly and forgot to bring the necessary tools. Turning around, he saw an enemy soldier behind him.
Perhaps you might need these.
The soldier took the pliers and prepared to help Joey, but the other soldier told him to wait for a moment. He came up to analyze the potential harm each wire could cause to Joey and requested that he be the one to cut them. But after all the analysis, the two still needed one more pair of pliers.
We need more wire cutters!
A war horse in distress had turned the hostile forces into friends who were helping each other at this moment. The two solved Joey's problem in a relaxed atmosphere with smiles and conversation. The question of Joey's ownership then arose. They initially thought of dueling, but in the end, they decided to toss a coin. The British soldier won. The German soldier accepted the result. After shaking hands in peace, they went their separate ways. It was a touching scene amidst the brutal battlefield. Fortunately, Albert did not lose his life. Joey hurriedly passed by him. After the doctor checked Joey's wounds and decided to give up treatment, Albert heard the story of a miraculous horse returning to the aid station from the battlefield. A sergeant took out his gun, prepared to send Joey away, but at that moment, Albert's whistle blew. After all these years, Joey had never forgotten that sound. The sergeant adjusted Joey's head and the whistle blew again. The soldiers turned back to look. Albert blew the whistle once more and Joey came to him. After so many years, they finally reunited. The military doctor did not believe that Joey was Albert's horse, saying that he was just an anonymous horse. But Albert, with his eyes covered, described Joey's features: white hooves and a diamond-shaped patch of white hair on the forehead. The doctor looked at Joey, but there were no white hooves or white hair. However, the soldier who saved Joey brought a bucket of water and wiped away the mud on Joey's hooves. All 4 hooves were white exactly as described. The doctor took out a rag and wiped away the dirt. After cleaning, Joey revealed the white diamond-shaped mark on the forehead. The doctor realized that this was Albert's horse and returned Joey to him. Soon after, the war was declared over. However, the higher-ups decided that only officers could take their horses back. Albert had to take Joey to the market for auction. When he walked out of the stable, he found his comrades waiting outside. They had collected a total of 29 pounds for him. But when they arrived at the auction, an old man continued to raise the price. Eventually, the price reached 30 pounds. Just then, a voice spoke up, 100 pounds, sir? And if you bid against me, I will sell the court on my back for 110 pounds. And if you bid against me again, I will sell my farm for 1,000. Joey easily ended up in the hands of the old man. Remember the little girl from before? Grandpa wanted to buy Joey as a keepsake. Albert wanted to buy Joey back, but no matter what, he refused to sell. As they walked away, Joey suddenly broke free from Grandpa and ran back to Albert. He comforted Joey and then handed him back to Grandpa. Watching Albert's departure, the old man pulled out Albert's father's military flag and handed it to him. It turned out that the little girl had passed away and the grandfather had bought Joey just as a souvenir. But since Joey wanted to be with Albert so much, the old man believed that it was what his granddaughter would have wanted. Albert thanked the old man and inquired about the name of the little girl.
Emily.
Emily, a kind and beautiful name. And so the film ends. This film is filled with Steven Spielberg's perfect idealism. Even in the midst of a brutal war, there was hope and redemption. There is no substitute for the original movie. A good film is worth watching it yourself. But you don't know where you can watch these movies? Use Superbox. With Superbox, you can access all live TV channels in 4K quality. It also provides access to over 13,000 movies and series, and updates with the newest content very often. The total cost for one of these is 2 months of your cable bill. Then you never have to pay fees or bills ever again. Click the link in my bio and use my code to get it at a better price.